This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is only a test.
The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
Hey, it's your favorite brother, Brother Abner, and you watching Brother Abner TV. Yo, man, we're gonna get into some Kings type stuff today, right? We're gonna get into Deuteronomy 17, 16, 17, and 18, right? Because we have a lot of Israelite gentlemen and women who subscribe to multiple wives doctrine, and that's a doctrine of man. But before I just get to running off at my mouth, I'm gonna let the scripture speak first. Well, I'm not gonna let them speak. They gonna speak. Those who have an ear, let them hear. Let's go.
But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Deuteronomy 17:16, KJV. In ancient Near Eastern cultures, horses were primarily used for warfare, not for agriculture or transportation. They were symbols of military might and royal power. Egypt was renowned for its horses and chariots, which made it a military superpower of the time. This verse provides specific limitations on the future king of Israel. 1. Context. This verse is part of the instructions given by Moses to the Israelites regarding the establishment of a king. It outlines the requirements and restrictions for a king to ensure he rules justly and remains faithful to God. 2. Prohibition against accumulating horses. The instruction not to accumulate a large number of horses is significant because in ancient times, horses were symbols of military power and wealth. By restricting the king from amassing horses, God is preventing the king from relying on military strength rather than on God. 3. Returning to Egypt. The specific mention of not returning to Egypt to acquire horses is a reminder of Israel's deliverance from slavery in Egypt. It emphasizes the importance of not reverting to old ways or dependencies that could lead them away from trusting in God's provision and guidance. 4. Trust in God. This command is ultimately about fostering a dependence on God rather than on military might or foreign alliances. It underscores the principle that the king and the nation should trust in God for their security and success. There is no king saved by the multitude of an host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. Psalm 33:16, KJV. An horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Psalm 33:17, KJV. This passage reinforces the idea presented in Deuteronomy 17:16 by emphasizing that true safety and deliverance come from God, not from military strength or horses. It cautions against placing trust in human might or resources rather than in divine protection. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord. Proverbs 21:31, KJV. This proverb acknowledges the practical preparations for battle, symbolized by the horse, but ultimately attributes victory and safety to the Lord. It doesn't negate the use of horses or military preparation, but puts them in proper perspective under God's sovereignty. Military strength, symbolized by horses, is not to be the primary source of a nation's security. The king and the people should trust in God rather than in military might. While practical preparations for defense are not forbidden, they should not replace faith in God.
So as y'all can see, our Elohim don't even want us multiplying horses, because anything will deter us from following what he wants us to do. We are so quick to follow things that man say is law before we follow what the Creator says is law. Scripture says the day starts at sunup. Man and Israelites say that it starts in the evening. The Jewish people say it starts in the evening. They say it's every Saturday. The scriptures say that our Elohim numbered his days. He didn't name them. So with that, I'm just saying, our Elohim is specific in things that he wants, but man want things to be their way. Let's go.
Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Deuteronomy 17:17, KJV. This verse, part of the regulations for future Israelite kings, specifically prohibits the multiplication of wives. The command is prophetic in its foresight, as it directly relates to the eventual downfall of King Solomon, Israel's third monarch and son of David. Solomon's reign began with great promise. He was renowned for his wisdom and brought Israel to the height of its power and influence. However, his violation of this specific command in Deuteronomy 17:17 led to his spiritual downfall and the eventual division of the kingdom. 1 Kings 11:3-4 provides a stark illustration of Solomon's disobedience. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. Solomon's excessive accumulation of wives, particularly foreign women, directly contravened God's command. The number of his wives, 700 plus 300 concubines, was not just a violation of the letter of the law, but an extreme amplification of the very thing God had warned against. This spiritual infidelity had severe consequences. God declared that he would tear the kingdom away from Solomon, leaving only one tribe for his son to rule for the sake of David's legacy. 1 Kings 11:13. This divine judgment led to the division of Israel into two kingdoms after Solomon's death, marking a turning point in the nation's history. Solomon's story serves as a cautionary tale, vividly illustrating the importance of the command in Deuteronomy 17:17. It shows that even the wisest of men can fall if they disregard God's instructions. The specific warning against multiplying wives proved prophetic, as it precisely identified the stumbling block that would lead to the downfall of Israel's most renowned king. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. This command is crucial in shaping the ideal of Israelite kingship as distinct from other ancient Near Eastern monarchies. In this context, the prohibition against multiplying silver and gold serves multiple purposes. Firstly, it guards against the king using his position for personal enrichment at the expense of the nation. The accumulation of vast wealth often leads to a disconnect between the ruler and the people, potentially fostering oppression and injustice. Secondly, this command encourages the king to trust in God rather than in material resources. Excessive wealth can create a false sense of security and self-reliance, leading the king away from dependence on divine guidance and protection. Furthermore, this restriction helps prevent the corruption that often accompanies great wealth. It aims to keep the king's focus on his primary duty of leading the nation in righteousness and obedience to God's law, rather than on accumulating personal treasures. Historically, the violation of this command, along with the multiplication of wives, contributed to the downfall of kings like Solomon. Despite his initial wisdom, Solomon's vast accumulation of wealth, 1 Kings 10:14-23, eventually led to heavy taxation and forced labor, causing discontent among the people and contributing to the division of the kingdom after his death. This part of Deuteronomy 17:17 thus establishes a model of kingship based on moderation, service, and spiritual fidelity, rather than on personal aggrandizement and material excess. It envisions a leader who prioritizes the welfare of the nation and faithfulness to God over personal luxury and power.
So there you have it, man. Do not multiply wives. It would turn your heart from following our Elohim. Look what happened to Solomon, man. But now we'll still have brothers out here trying to push this crap. Study for yourselves. Study for yourself. Let's go.
And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. Deuteronomy 17:18. KJV. This verse introduces a unique requirement for the king of Israel. 1. Personal transcription. The king is commanded to write his own copy of the law, Torah. 2. Timing. This is to be done when he ascends to the throne at the beginning of his reign. 3. Source. The copy is to be made from the authoritative version kept by the Levitical priests. The implications and significance of this command are profound. 1. Personal knowledge. By writing out the law himself, the king would become intimately familiar with God's instructions for his people. 2. Submission to divine authority. This act symbolizes the king's submission to God's law, acknowledging a higher authority than his own. 3. Preservation of the law. This practice helps ensure the accurate preservation and transmission of the law. 4. Accountability. Having a personal copy would make the king directly accountable for knowing and following the law. 5. Limited power. It reinforces that the king's power is not absolute, but is subject to God's law. 6. Educational purpose. The process of writing would serve as an intensive study of the law for the king. 7. Spiritual focus. It emphasizes that the king's primary duty is to lead the people in following God's ways. 8. Continuity. This practice would provide continuity of governance based on God's law across different reigns. This requirement sets the Israelite monarchy apart from other ancient Near Eastern kingships. It establishes a model of leadership where the king is not above the law, but is its primary student and exemplar. This verse, along with the following ones, outlines a theocratic model of kingship where the human monarch is clearly subordinate to the divine king and his law. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them. Deuteronomy 17:19. KJV.
So with that, man, duties of a king. The Messiah said he wanted a nation of kings and priests. You can't be no homemonger out here, man, and thinking you finna get into the kingdom, bro. It ain't gonna work like that. So with that, I just want to thank the Most High Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel for everything. Oh yeah. Let's go.